Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today I wanted to have a quick discussion on this guy. This is my Earthwise GS70015 electric wood chipper and shredder. And I know what you're probably thinking, electric wood chippers, right? That sounds a little bit like an oxymoron, right? Typically wood chippers are all gas powered because you need all this power and energy to kind of chop up all of these branches. But I have been pleasantly surprised over the last 6 months of using this 15 amp electric wood chipper, and I wanted to share some of those thoughts and results with you. So what we'll do today is we will unbox this and we'll assemble it. We'll go out and I'll show you how it works in the yard with some real world applications and take a look at how this has performed over the last 6 months. So if that sounds like fun, why don't we go ahead and rewind the clock and I'll show you what came in the box. All right, so here it is, the Earthwise, and then I think if you look at the top, it says the model number on the box as well. Yep, this is the GS70015. So yeah, it's a pretty reasonable, nice looking box. A couple things to note. Maybe let's flip it around this side. You can maybe read it over here a little bit easier. So it's got some of the features that's kind of listed here. It says it mulches leaves and grinds sticks with steel blades. Okay, that's good. 16:1 mulching ratio, whatever that means. I think it basically reduces the volume, hopefully by a factor of 16. It's got a hopper on the top, so that's actually kind of nice. And it's got a nice tamping tool as well. So this little green thing I think we're going to see is going to help us push the material down. So it can handle branches apparently up to 1 3/4 inches in diameter. What else does it say? It's got an overload protection with a reset button. Oh, and this is the nice feature that I was excited about. It's got a 40 liter or a 10.5 gallon collection bin at the base, as you'll see. And we'll check that out when we get it out of the box. So what else does this say? I think it's got some information here on the side that might be interesting, in case you're interested. Let's see. Yeah, so it claims it's a 15 amp, so we're gonna actually see. Hopefully it's got a wattage rating on the motor. I'll be interested to see, but we'll test that in a second. Let's see, maximum chopping diameter. Yeah, we already saw this. So apparently at no load, it runs at a speed of 4,500 RPMs, it says. Yeah, that's about it on the box. It's got this heavy sticker, so actually I'm kind of interested what this thing weighs, because as you can see, it's a pretty beefy box. So let me see here. I'm going to load this thing up on the bathroom scale. Let's see if it's got a number. Okay, about 34.5 pounds. So I don't know if you can read that, but yeah, 34.5 pounds. And also maybe let's measure the box dimensions in case you're interested in trying to, bring this home in your car. It's not the smallest thing, so it's 19.5 inches wide by about 28 inches tall and about a depth of about 14.5 inches. So that's the stats on the box. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of the box and see what comes with it. All right, so again, this one is the Earthwise chipper. I paid about $154 for this, which I think is a pretty reasonable price considering when you compare to some of these other gas-powered chippers and shredders. So let's see. Okay, so it's all packaged up quite nicely. Let's just go and take some of this stuff out. So you can see, I do think this is kind of funny how, wow, they wrap this in bubble wrap. You can't tell me this is not going to get scuffed up the instant you start using this, but I guess they want to make sure it gets to your location nicely and unscratched. So I guess that's the top. That's one of the boxes. Let's get rid of this. Let's see what else we've got in here. Oh, and here's a little tamping tool. Okay, so you get that with it. And then I believe it's probably a lot of just construction related material. So here's one of the legs. So let's get rid of that. There's one leg. The other leg has got to be around here somewhere. Yep, here it is. So yeah, we got the 2 legs. Okay, so let's put those 2 together. Let's see what else we got down here. Okay, so this must be the box. Yeah, the collection bin. Aha, here we go. That's a nice big old collection bin. Maybe we'll stick that off to the side. All right, now we got to start getting some of this packaging out of here. So, okay, great. We got an operator's manual that I'm sure is going to be helpful at some point. And then, let's see, hopefully we got the main unit here. Oh boy, this is kind of stuck in here. Nice. How am I going to get this thing out? Let's see here. There's an easy way to get this out. Oh well, those, just some more cardboard. Come on. Okay, all right, it's coming, it's coming. All right, come on. This is one of those times when you need, when you need an assistant. Hold on, dropping some stuff. Okay, so I guess this is probably the axle for the wheels. Yep, there's nothing else in this box, so we'll get rid of the box. Okay, let's put that off to the side. Let's take a look at the main unit here. Okay, so let's see, get the bubble wrap off. Okay, we got all kinds of stuff here. So it looks like we got wheels for the unit. All right, let's see if we can get this thing open. Yep, here we go. We got wheels. That's cute. It's even got little like hubcaps, which are they're patterned, so that's kind of interesting. So let's see. Wheels, no, you can't even see that. Let me see if I can find a spot where this is actually visible. Maybe I'll put the wheels up here. Wheels, 2 hubcaps, probably hardware. Oh, actually, this is interesting. So you got some assembly tools, it looks like. So yeah, I've got a couple of Allen keys combined with basically a couple of wrenches to turn some nuts. So that's kind of a nice touch. You got 2 of those. You got these 4 bolts. I assume these are for assembly somehow. So let's just lean those out there. What else we've got? Nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay. All right, so now let's take this apart a little more, see if we can get the main unit. So here's the main unit, and I don't know if there's anything else here. No, it's just got some cardboard. Okay, so that's it then, I guess. Okay, so that's all the stuff that comes in the box. Okay, so I think the next thing to do is just read over the manual and let's put this thing together. All right, so we've got the chipper all set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and get the tamper out of here, and you'll see I've got some little twigs and sticks. These are not anywhere near the maximum, 1 3/4 diameter that the chipper can handle, but I think this will be a good initial test. Now, this thing is pretty darn loud. It's about as loud as like a pretty decent sized leaf blower. So I'm gonna go get some safety glasses and some earmuffs. And now, let's go ahead and see how this works. So it's pretty darn simple. I've got them plugged in, so just turn it on. All right, now one thing I was very interested in is what's the power consumption of the motor when it's operational. So I've gone ahead and hooked up a little watt meter to this. So as you can see right now, it's pulling 0 watts because it's not on. And let's go ahead and turn this guy on, and you'll see that when it's on, but it's not chewing anything up, it draws about 1 kilowatt, so about 1,000 watts. So it's about the same power consumption as a microwave. Now, in the last video clip, you also saw how it has this really nice action where if you stick a branch in here, it will just kind of suck it down all by itself. So let's also stick one of these longer branches in so we can see it start dragging and putting some load on the motor, and then we'll also compare to see what the power consumption is when it's actually actively chipping something up. So we'll use one of these smaller, longer branches to give us enough time to kind of see the effects. So let's go ahead and we'll turn it on, and again, you heard how loud it is, so I'm probably not going to be able to talk when I'm doing this experiment, but you'll see I'll turn it on. We'll look at the no load power consumption. You're going to see it's about 1,000 watts. Then we'll stick in a branch, and then we will watch how the power consumption changes during that phase. Okay, so here we go. Let's turn it on. right. So that was pretty great. So you saw, again, about 1,000 watts when it's not under load, but when it is actually working on a branch, I think I saw that get as high as 1,600 watts. So that's about, seems to be the reasonable range. So I would guess this motor, yeah, it's pulling, 1,500, 1,600 watts under load. So, all right, a good data point. Let's go ahead and take this now and see if we can do some actual work in the back garden. All right, so I thought I'd take you around back and show you some of the stuff that I'd like to chip and mulch and shred. So as you can see, this is sort of our dumping ground for a lot of our garden waste. We just kind of drag it out here to the back 40 and throw it in a big pile. And over the years, it's just kind of gotten a little out of control because I've never really chipped it a whole lot. And then also in addition to that, if you come over here, here's my little log bridge I made. But we've also got some trees back here where it's just over the winter, storms have knocked down branches and things like that. So we've got some of these thicker branches here. I hope it's going to fit inside the shredder, but it's just stuff like that, right? There's all this cleanup that could be done all over the place. So I'm hoping we can drag the shredder out here, run an extension cord, and see if we can chew up some of this stuff. So if that sounds like fun, why don't we do that? Let's see if we can get the chipper back here and get working on this material. So I've been very pleasantly surprised in the performance and ease of use of the chipper. As long as you can get a branch into the opening, it seems to have no problem. Of course, I don't have super hard woods around here. I think a lot of these are alder and cedar branches, but the chipper seems to handle them no problem. Now that being said, it's not completely mindless like some of these larger, super heavy duty gas powered chippers, in the sense that you have to break up the branches a little bit to make sure that they fit. Some branches which are a little bit curved or might have offshoot branches, you're gonna have to do a little bit of pruning in order to get it down into the chipper, but once you do, the chipper works quite well. All right, so now let me show you the sort of after picture of now that I've cleaned up this whole back area using the electric chipper. And in fact, you can kind of see I've made paths using all of the chipping. So I would just basically chip up a whole bunch of branches, collect it in the bucket, and then spread it out on these paths. In fact, I was able to make this entirely new path here, which goes around by clearing out all of these branches and making a path. I've got new paths now going up here and up here. And in fact, let's come up and I'll show you remember there used to be a big pile of sticks up top. And now this is all cleared out and much more usable. In fact, I plan to try to cut some mountain biking paths through here in a second. But all this was made possible by that little 15 amp electric shredder. Now, that being said, you know, here's my pile of sticks that were too big to fit. So I'm gonna have to come up with something to do with these. So it's not foolproof, but it really does help with all of the cleanup. So as you can see, this looks, you know, 100 times better than it did beforehand. So I think this shows that, you know, I've used it for probably the past 6 months and it has performed perfectly. I am thrilled with how it works for this type of light yard cleanup. Now, while we're sitting out here, let me show you one thing that you might want to think about when you're working with this electric chipper. Obviously, since it's electric powered, you are going to be sort of limited in terms of how far you're able to go away from the house and an electrical outlet. So in fact, I actually dug a trench and installed this electrical outlet. You can kind of see the house back there, but I basically installed an underground conduit and brought an electrical outlet out here to this back part of the yard so that I could then plug in extension cords and try to extend the range of this. So unfortunately, unlike a gas-powered chipper where you can basically drag that gas-powered chipper anywhere you want on your job site, you might have to think about where you're going to put this chipper so that you're close enough to an electrical outlet that makes sense. So, you know, obviously it's a little bit of a pain that if you don't have an electrical outlet out here and you've got branches way back there, you're going to have to drag the branches all the way back to wherever you've got an electrical outlet and you can plug in the chipper. But I think that's one of the drawbacks of having an electric chipper and shredder is that you are literally kind of tethered to the nearest electrical outlet. Okay, now sometimes if you've been chipping for a while, you can tell that it bogs down. The sound it makes just gets a little bit lower frequency. Basically, I think it's getting a little bit stuck. And in fact, you can kind of see that if you open up the drawer. I mean, we're getting pretty filled up here. So one thing that can happen is, especially if you're chipping up kind of newer or some wet material, sometimes it can get clogged. So you may have to clear this. So to clear this, obviously the first thing you're going to want to do is unplug this so that nothing can turn on while you're poking around in there. And I'm just going to turn this on just to double check. Yep, it doesn't turn on. And then all you have to do to clear this jam is to unscrew this little knob. It takes quite a bit of unscrewing, but eventually this is going to pop off and allow you to access basically the motor. So there you go. Great. And now if you look in here, you'll see that, yeah, we basically have this entirely clogged up with wood chips. So I'm going to try to clear this as best I can. In fact, let me just try to get some of this out of here just so we don't drop it all over the place. And you can see sort of the inner mechanisms a little bit of how this works. And now what we need to do is there's a kind of rolling feeder system down here that you just kind of have to wiggle your hands, clear this out, and eventually, there we go, there you go. Now you can see these little rolling bars exposed a little bit more. These are little, like, I don't know if they're little guides or something like that to try to get the wood chips, but you see how the wood chips, if they're wetter, they kind of get stuck together and they can clog this set of exhaust ports effectively. So we're going to try to clear this as best we can. We're going to try to roll. You can even turn this a little bit at times just to make sure that things don't get caught. There we go. Okay, now if we clear out as much of this as we can right now, we should hopefully be back in business. Okay, so there you go. So we've cleared the jam. So now you just need to slap this thing back down and then tighten up like crazy over here, and then once that's tight, we should be good. Now if we plug this back in, and then we should be able to turn it on and it'll sound back to normal. There we go. So that sounds a lot better, and we're basically ready to keep chipping. All right, so we're doing some cleanup here in the yard. As you can see, we've cut down some branches, and they're right here near these garden beds. So one thing that's nice about this chipper is that it's got the bucket underneath and it's pretty portable. So I can bring it right to where we've got all the branches and all that stuff that we want to chip, and we are able to actually just do the chipping right here on site, and it's not going to blast wood chips everywhere. So for example, if I just turn this on and start chipping some of this up, it will catch it all in the bucket, and I can do all of this here without having to drag this all out to a different location. So and as you can see, it just catches all the wood chips, so I can do all of this here without having to move my entire operation to some other location where I can, don't have to worry about the chips spraying everywhere, right? So this is pretty convenient. All right, and lastly, I think maybe what might be handy to show and compare is, again, I really like this chipper because it's so light and easy to move around, but still kind of has the performance to do what I need in terms of cleaning up smaller branches. So as you saw, I can pick this up with one hand. Now compare that to, say, like your traditional gas chipper. So this is the old wood chipper that I was using. So this guy is pretty much, your standard home grade machine. This is gas powered again. It's an 8 horsepower Yard Machines chipper. This is what's the right way? This thing gives me anxiety. It never ever starts when it's supposed to. It takes me many tries. In fact, you even see I have the air intake, the air filter taken off because I usually have to squirt in starter fluid into the air intake just to get this thing to fire up every time in the spring when I want to use it after the fall and winter season and I want to try to get it going. I can never get it started. It takes me many tries to get this thing running. It doesn't run run reliably. It's loud. It belches exhaust. I come back into the house smelling like, you know, gas fumes. It is super duper heavy. Like, just dragging this thing to where I want to use it is a big pain in the neck. Look at the size comparison, right? This gas thing takes up, you know, easily half of your yard shed, or what I end up having to do is I put it underneath a blue tarp all winter, and now I've got this giant eyesore in the yard where I get yelled at for having basically a big giant blue blob in the middle of the beautiful garden, right? So this thing is just, like I said, it gives me anxiety to use it. So I am just thrilled to be able to go over to this electric setup where it's easy. You just plug it in. It works every single time once you plug it in. No muss, no fuss. It's much smaller. This thing just fits in the corner of my shed now, and I don't have to worry about storage any longer. So I don't think I'll ever go back to a gas system, right? Now, that being said, obviously, you know, you're not going to be able to feed an entire tree into the electric chipper, but for the cleanup that I'm doing around the yard, this is exactly what I need. Now, that being said, some improvements. What could this thing do better? As we saw, it can't munch giant tree branches, right? So that's one thing to worry about. Also, I don't know if you can see that from there, but the way the intake works is it really is set up for branches. I don't know, actually, here, I can actually just pick this up probably because it's so easy and small. I can just pick this up to show you. Whoops, I dropped the bucket. But look at the shape of the intake, right? There are those holes for branches. So it's good for branches to fit in there, but it is a little bit harder if you're trying to chip up things like leaves or just brush or debris that you're trying to feed in there. You really can do it. You can stick it here in this hopper and then take this tamper and jam it in, but it's not quite as easy as it was with my gas chipper over here, where the gas chipper has this giant leaf bin where you can just shovel in leaves and the thing would consume it and eat it no problem. So yeah, it's one compromise that I think I'm happy to live with. The other thing that is a little bit odd with this electric design, or at least this specific one, is the way they set up this handle. I don't know why, but for example, if you look at this, if you're dragging this along, the basket impacts your forearm as you are pulling this thing around. So it's not the most comfortable thing to be dragging around. But again, this thing weighs so little that really you can actually end up just picking this thing up and wandering it around and moving it and relocating it that way. Almost just as easy. But you know, otherwise, I really don't have too many complaints. As you can see, I'm quite bullish on the electric wood chipper now. And I think this is going to be my go-to system for the foreseeable future. So with that being said, I think this is probably a great spot to leave it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, I also hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. If you just scroll a little ways down on the YouTube page and click on that subscribe button, it really does help me continue making these videos. And remember, the new videos come out every Monday, so I hope I'll be able to catch you at a future discussion and we can all learn something new together. So until then, I think I'll sign off. Talk to you later. Bye.